Hi and welcome. I'm Steve Martirano, and this is the Behavioral Corner. You're invited to hang with us as we discuss the ways we live today, the choices we make, the things we do, and how they affect our health and well-being. So you're on the corner, the Behavioral Corner. Please hang around a while. Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Behavioral Corner. My name is Steve Martirano. I'm your host. I am the resident hanger-out-in-chief. I've told you this every week when we meet on the corner here. It's our hope that a lot of people will come out of the stores and be crossing the street, and invariably we find somebody fascinating, and that's certainly the case today. Although it's a very difficult story our guest has to tell. Cancer visited our guest Suzanne Miller and her life in a particularly cruel fashion when both she and her husband were diagnosed with the disease. She is with us today to share that story of that battle, which she is now a survivor of, clearly, but unfortunately took her husband. She found great comfort in all this, if it's possible to find any comfort at all, through the practice of yoga. And we'll find out a lot about that as we welcome her to the corner. Suzanne Miller, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Steve. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We thank you for this. Is a tough topic to talk about, but let's begin at the beginning. When were you and your husband diagnosed with the disease?
Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to take you back even further because, and this plays into my whole story and just these common themes I've found in my life. But in 1980, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, pancreatic cancer. And she, and I hate to use the word battle, and I'll talk about that a little more, but let's just say she journeyed with cancer for 3 years. And so she died in 1983 in my living room in a hospital bed. So my senior year in high school was all about helping take care of my mom, seeing my mom in this living room, in this hospital bed, like just watching what cancer was doing to her. So now let's fast forward to the current day story. So my husband was diagnosed in 2009. It was just days before our 20th wedding anniversary. And so he often joked, yeah, for our wedding anniversary, I gave you a brain tumor. So he had a great sense of humor, a great approach to life. So he was diagnosed with an astrocytoma and a peanut tumor, which is a childhood tumor. And that's still a little bit of a mystery. So he was treated for both tumors. So he actually spent time at CHOP as an adult getting treated. Yeah. So,
how old was your husband at the time?
He was 45. Yeah. So fast forward 3 years, he had a year of really intensive treatment, both chemotherapy and radiation. He went from, 180 pounds, healthy, handsome, intelligent man to about 125. Took him down to like nothing. I don't think one of my legs would have fit in his little tiny jeans.
Really? Oh, man.
Skinny boy.
Yeah.
So the reason I started with the story with my mom is that's where we ended up as a family, moving him into palliative care in our home. So we literally brought him home to die. And once again, I had a hospital bed set up in my living room. And it wasn't me watching a parent die, helping to take care of them. It was my kids. So same age.
Same age, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stop you here for a second just to ask you, did your experience with your mom help you shepherd your children through this process?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know what I shared with them was, you're going to survive this. You, as a young kid, they were seventh grade and ninth grade. This is hard, but you're going to be such an empathetic and compassionate people because of this. Because I feel like that's what it taught me. I mean, I'm certainly not perfect by any means, but pretty empathetic. So, and when you're that age, it's really all about you. And that's how I remember being. I remember just thinking, oh, when's this going to end? This is my senior year in high school. This should be about me getting into colleges and blah, blah, blah. And
then feeling guilty about that. Yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough.
Yeah, so I think I was. That's a really great connection, is that, I was able. It was hard for them, but they really showed up and are incredible, incredible human beings today. They really are.
Yeah, we often talk in behavioral health, specifically with regard to substance abuse issues, that addiction is a family disease. And that's certainly true. And I've heard it many, many times in doing the show. And it's always struck me every time I hear it that almost all catastrophic diseases, life-threatening diseases, are family affairs.
Yeah, they are.
And and cancer certainly is a big one. Tell us about the treatment. You're not having any troubles while your husband was first diagnosed. Was it during his home care, palliative care, that you found out you also had cancer?
Yeah, so his original diagnosis was in 2009. He had a year of really intense treatment. He was starting to gain his strength back. He wasn't able to return to work, although he could have. His brain was still functioning, but he definitely was a changed person. But he filled a role at home and just filled in on other things, and I worked. And it recurred. So he had a recurrence in 2012, almost to the 3-year mark. It was October. We had a trip planned to Germany to see his sister who was stationed there. And that was going to be our celebration, 3 years. And daggone tumor came back with a vengeance. So canceled the trip and just started the whole process over again, surgeries and treatments. And in the end, he was in the hospital more than he was home. So I don't have family who lives close by. And I think another part of this is just the community support that you get and you need to allow yourself to receive.
Right.
That's
interesting. That's an interesting point, because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but people really need to understand this. Very difficult for other people to even talk to families in the situation you were facing. They don't know how to. Should I bring it up? Shouldn't I bring it up? Am I supposed to ask to help? Being willing to receive their help. Is a skill, right? You got to work at it.
You do have to work at it because, I'm independent and I'm a professional woman and I'm supposed to be able to handle everything. I can bring home the bacon and cook it up in the pan,
Right.
And now I'm sort of falling apart at the seams, but with this real nice smile on my face.
Yeah, it's hard to say in those circumstances. You can, if you feel like bringing over a casserole tonight, that'd be helpful because I can't cook, right?
Oh my gosh. Just, sidebar on this. My neighbors are just beautiful and amazing people. They set up a website. They got people to bring us meals, take my kids to music lessons and soccer practice and orchestra lessons, and just wherever there was a gap, someone was filling in, whether it was scouting families, neighbors, church family, co-workers. I mean,
it's amazing. It's so tragic that it takes something like cancer to rally the troops. They're all good people. They were good people whether this had happened or not. But when it happens and they can rise to the occasion, it gives us, at least it gives me hope sometimes, that people aren't as screwed up as we all often seem to be. Let's talk about. So anyway, when did you find out you had cancer?
So it was January of 2013. He had been in the ICU for weeks, and so I was always at the hospital after work, and then that's where all that support came in to help.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to worry about shuffling kids, or I would call home and say, hey, get that lasagna out of the freezer. So I was standing in the hospital with him. He was in Bryn Mawr, and I do have to give props to Mainline Health System. They were amazing with him and amazing with me. All my doctors are there, and that's not, I'm not getting paid to say that. That's true.
I understand. Right.
I'm standing in the room, and I had this hernia for a couple years, and we used to call it my little alien baby because when I would stretch, it would like pop out.
Right.
So when I'm like, my hands on my stomach, and the nurses, who are just angels on earth with the wings you can't see, they're like, what's wrong, honey? And I'm like, oh, this hernia kind of hurts. I pull up my shirt. They're like, you get down to the ER right now. I'm like, no, I can't. I have kids at home. So fast forward, I go in on a Saturday morning. They do emergency hernia surgery. I'm on one floor. He's on another floor. Wow. My parents came in to help take care of the kids. And, so fine, I go home. I'm recovering from this hernia surgery, and I'm back at work 2 weeks later, and my surgeon calls me and says, you need to come in to see me right away. And I'm like, why? Have an appointment? He goes, no, we sent your the hernia sac out for biopsy. It's just standard protocol. And we ended up sending it up to Harvard, to, I guess, Mass General, because we found cancer cells. And I hung up on him. I said, no, you're wrong. My husband's the one with cancer in your hospital. Okay, really? I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Really?
And then I proceeded to just break down, and I was underneath my desk when a coworker came over and was like, what is wrong? Everyone thought it was my husband, that, he had passed.
You got this news at work?
I got the news at work. Perfect.
Wow. So the mind just shuts down. No, this can't be happening. This is a mistake. I'm just, yeah. Let me ask you, were you reluctant? You must have been very reluctant to tell your husband that news.
He never knew.
He never knew.
He never knew. So he was at home, and I had already started my treatment. I had no hair, and I just made it a point to always have a hat on. And he would look at me like, what is going on with you? But he couldn't really speak at that point. And he would look at me, and I'm like, I know you know, but
just never came. Right? Yeah. So this is a constant or a conscious decision you made, that in the midst of this, whatever was going on with you, as scary as it wasn't going to help your husband in one little bit. He must have understood that on some level.
I think he did.
Yeah. How long between your diagnosis and his passing?
I was diagnosed in late January, and he passed on May the 4th in 2013. And then his 48th birthday was the following week. So that's the other recurring theme. Like, everyone was 48. My mom was 48 when she died. I was 48 when I was diagnosed, and he was 48 when he died. So don't know what that number means in my life yet.
I know. That's the kind of thing that you just go, there must be some significance to it. And of course there isn't, except coincidence. So you really, at that point, must have been confronted with two things that were extremely difficult. One is mourning the passing of your husband and the father of your kids. And, I've got cancer. How did you compartmentalize that stuff?
You know what? I've become a master at compartmentalizing.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I knew probably around January. No, that's not true. His last Christmas, I knew would be his last Christmas. His surgeon was kind enough to say, he's not going to make it. And I would bring everybody to your home for Christmas, like make it a bang up celebration.
Yeah.
So we did.
Yeah. When you say kind enough to do that, that's interesting, because we know that doctors are very, very reluctant to put an end date on anything because, after all, it's a guess anyway. But he extended that to you. I guess maybe some of his thinking was, this woman has other things that she's going to have to concentrate on.
Yeah.
Let's make sure she understands priorities here. So, did your children know that you had been diagnosed?
Yeah, they
Mhm.
knew.
You got some tough kids, Suzanne. You got some tough kids. How they were shattered, right?
They were, but interestingly enough, I don't think they, in their young age and everything they had been through the last 3 years and then those last couple months, because they were an active part of his caregiving team, like helping him go to the bathroom, helping change his diaper. Like, what ninth grade kid wants to do that?
Yeah.
So
they're veterans.
they're veterans, and they are amazing, amazing people.
Yeah.
Like, they have so much compassion. They'll
Mhm.
buy a cup of coffee or a cup of tea for a homeless person just because they think that's the right thing to do, and they don't care what they do with that money because they just want to be empathetic and compassionate.
Yeah.
Those are my kids.
Yeah, so it's a tough lesson. It's a horrible lesson. You're not supposed to become this aware that the story for all of us ends the same. You're not supposed to be aware of that. See it at home, and now your mom, and it's scarier than hell. So your treatment of cancer is how long now, and where are you with regard to the disease?
I'm 8 years out, and I am cancer-free, and I see my oncologist one time a year, and I've tried to negotiate that because I negotiated everything with that man, down to the amount of steroids he gave me, because I saw what they did to my husband. And so 8 years out, cancer-free. The cancer is not a part, the cancer itself and treatment is not a part of my life right now. It's really those long-term side effects that I am now experiencing and realizing that's a big part of my life. And that's where the yoga really.
Yeah, I do want to get into that. Two things before we do, though.
Yeah.
One, you talk about negotiating with your doctor. Tragically, you're in a great spot to be able to say, well, I saw what happened with my husband. Now I can have some knowledge about what's going on. People are reluctant to do that. Cancer is so scary. If the doctor says stand on your head, people just go, okay, I'll stand on my head. You felt it important to be a participant in the treatment.
Absolutely. Two things I said to him. One, you have to keep me alive because I don't want my children to not have parents. So I'm it. I'm tagged with now being their sole parent. So you better keep me alive. So
great. Well, might as well put pressure on him. Might as well.
This man's amazing. Not only did he treat me aggressively, and he told me he was gonna, because I was so healthy and I was in great shape, and I was taking care of my body, eating right, working out, doing the mindfulness practice. So he thought, yeah, let's just zap her. And he also knew of another complementary drug, not chemotherapy. I'm not sure what the classification is. It's called Avastin. Is a protocol used in Europe, but not here in the States. So it was not approved for ovarian cancer. He fought my insurance company wholeheartedly, and he got it approved. Now it's standard protocol for ovarian treatment.
That's wonderful. Yep. Well, you know what? Yeah, again, in all of your horrible luck, you did catch a couple of breaks. You had a real conscientious partner in that doctor, and the kids are obviously a miracle.
But I built a team along with him. I said I wanted to go to Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and my insurance company said, yeah, sure, we'll send you to Chicago. I'm like, well, that makes sense. I live in Philadelphia. My husband's dying, and I have 2 children. Don't get me started. So I thought, all right, I know what cancer center Cancer Treatment Centers of America, they have like a more integrative approach. So I just built my own team. And this oncologist said to me, I know oncology drugs. I don't know nutrition. I don't know support of your immune system. So I had a doctor, and she worked hand in hand with him. Now they're partners. They work together to support my immune system. So all the natural things. And she's also a yoga teacher. So
is that how you finally pick up?
Yep.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, look, you lost your husband. It's horrible. Nothing can replace him. But this disease visited the wrong family at the end of the day, because, okay, you got my husband, you're not getting me, and my kids aren't going to pay anymore. It's an impressive story, Suzanne. So let's talk about yoga, because yoga is one of those things that I know I sit around going, yoga might be something I should try. That looks like fun. And then I realized that at my age, they actually have things called chair yoga. And the idea of being so old I couldn't do yoga in anything other than a chair, I go, no, I'm not doing that. And then I see that there are always these young, lithe women, and they're bending, and I go, I can't do any of that. And the other thing that kind of stops me is this sense I have, and I know it's wrong, that yoga is oversold as some kind of physical activity that's good for everything. Mm-hmm. It's just good for everything. So I know that you find it, and I want to know why you gravitated towards it, and how it's helped you straight ahead. We're talking to Suzanne Miller. Suzanne Miller is I know this is not the right way to characterize you, because you're so much more. As a survivor of cancer, she's visited her family, as we've talked about, and she's come out the other side now, 8 years cancer-free. It's a great story. And yoga is a key ingredient in the shape she finds herself in now. This is the Behavioral Corner. We have more with Suzanne. Don't go anywhere.
Every storm runs out of rain, according to the great Maya Angelou. Her words can remind us of one very simple truth, that storms do cross our paths, but they don't last forever. So the question remains, how do we ride out this storm of COVID-19 and all the other storms life may throw our way? Where do we turn when issues such as mental health or substance abuse begin to deeply affect our lives? Look to Retreat Behavioral Health. With a team of industry-leading experts, they work tirelessly to provide a compassionate, holistic, and affordable treatment. Call to learn more today. 855-802-6600. Retreat Behavioral Health, where healing happens.
Suzanne, let's pick up on this, the idea of yoga. You found out about it through the medical team you were dealing with?
Mm-hmm. So I'd always gravitated towards it because I was super flexible. So I was pretty bendy. Mm-hmm. So like you, I always associated with that physical, like what we call the asanas, the poses, the physical mm-hmm. part of yoga. And in talking to my naturopath, her name's Jill Huffman, she gave me 2 pieces of advice. One was to go to Kripalu Yoga or Wellness Center in the Berkshire Mountains of Western Massachusetts. And I attended a week-long course called Finding Resilience After Cancer. Amazing course. And then the second piece she said is, why don't you teach? And I'm like, I'm not a teacher. So she planted that seed because she said there's also another component. This woman named Tari Prinster is a cancer survivor, a yogi, and she's created this whole body of work called Yoga for Cancer, where she, because she knows what it's like firsthand, she's taken the yoga practice and has modified it to help patients who are having side effects. Like, she knows what it's like. She knows the limitations you have. She knows how you're going to feel, the depression, the loneliness, the weight gain. That's another myth. Like, people think, cancer, you're going to lose weight. No, those steroids make you gain weight.
Right. Right.
So,
So that's interesting. It's because one size does not fit all in anything, and
mm-mm.
certainly someone um, who has cancer that wants to use yoga needs to be considered. Did you were people like the people you described, were they approaching yoga as a therapy um, for psychological advantages, or were there actual physical benefits in light of your cancer that yoga could help?
There's both.
Mm-hmm.
There's both. It's really this, whole body
Mm-hmm.
um, aid. So, the poses, the asana, um, help the physical pieces. It improves the balance, mobility. It helps support your immune system through all these fluids flowing, the cardiovascular
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
system, the venous return, the lymphatic. Like when you exercise and those fluids flow, your immune system gets stronger.
Hmm.
So that's the piece, that is a part of yoga, the asanas. But then you have the pranayama, the breath work, where you're learning to focus on the breath. And what that focus helps you with is like not letting your mind race and think about, oh, I have treatment, I have side effect, how am I going to pay my bills, I'm losing my
Right.
husband, what about my kids, how do they feel? Like it just quiets that mind, and then that
Mm-hmm.
taps into that parasympathetic nervous system, that
Right.
relaxation,
Sure.
and that helps your body to not go into that stress mode, the sympathetic nervous system. So what happens is then your body starts producing cortisol. So now you've got chemotherapy tearing down your immune system, you have your body in this stress mode producing cortisol. It's a stinking mess.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's we almost always look at cancer as a physical struggle. It's a battle against this invader, and it's manifesting itself negatively physically, and that needs to be taken care of immediately and first. But there is this psychological battle. I know you hate the word, but there's a psychological battle, because if you're not in the right frame of mind, almost nothing will work. You just said something I don't think I've ever spoken to people who do yoga, make that connection between a physical activity that has deep roots in meditation. No one
mm-hmm.
thinks of meditating as a movement oriented activity. It's always about stillness. And so your body has to slow down in order to slow your mind down so you can motivate. That's not true, though, right?
No, because I was just explaining this to someone who said the same thing. Once you focus on your breath, in fact, when I was when I learned how to teach, the first cue is breath, breath, body part movement. Inhale, arms reach up. That's a nice way to cue, because it starts with the breath. It starts with the breath work. And I like to start my classes with some breath work, some relaxation. We'll do some like pranayama, and there's all kinds of different pranayama techniques. But you just get in this mindset, and then it really does help to stop your mind holding on to thoughts. You'll never stop thinking, because that's what we are. We're thinking people. But you acknowledge the thought, you let it go. And what happens is when you're focusing on that breath, that movement becomes like a moving meditation.
So
So
you underwent some training. It's not like you just took a video course in yoga and then started teaching this. You were trained, and now you're licensed in this, correct?
yeah, so I come out the other side. I have some other health issues that I had to attend to, and they were all a result of a very aggressive chemotherapy. I had 18 weeks back to back of chemotherapy. And just a little insert, on week 16, my oncologist looked at me and said, I never thought you'd make it this far. And I
Wow.
said, live? He said, no, make it through these treatments. He said, whatever the team you built is telling you to do, keep doing it, because it's supporting your immune system so that chemotherapy can do what it's supposed to do.
Wow, that's
That's what
remarkable.
happens. The immune
Yeah.
system will break down. Your white blood cell counts will get so low that a lot of times people can't continue that course of chemotherapy. But but mine was. He was
Yeah.
amazed. He was
Well,
amazed.
yeah. I mean, a lifetime of seeing what this is a disease that when it's aggressive enough, the treatment, it's not true, but it can almost kill you. So, it's a very aggressive and very tough regimen, I would guess, chemo and radiation. And so you have no doubt that yoga pulled you through this, in addition to everything else.
The practice of yoga, the staying calm and not letting those stress hormones, get the best of me. I mean, I could have been like a wired time bomb. I mean, not only did I have cancer, but I'm caring for children and I'm watching my husband die. Um, you know,
It's a pretty strong testament for how helpful this thing was to you. I know you want to do this much in a much broader fashion, and like everything else, COVID has slowed that down. Where would you like to take your experience with this disease and your training now in yoga? Where do you want to go with that?
Well, I got my certification, my 200-hour certification at Nectar Yoga Studio in Phoenixville. Amazing teachers there. But I knew all along, like my end goal was not just to get certified to teach. I had to get that under my belt in order to go to the next level, to teach to cancer patients. So last January, I went back to Kripalu, the yoga center in Massachusetts, and I trained with this woman, Tari Prinster, and it was a week-long, 45 credit hours. I had to do a practicum to learn how to teach yoga to cancer patients, and it was a tough week because it sort of made me confront old feelings and all that psychological stuff, but it motivated me to, like, cancer has been this huge part of my life. It keeps recurring and I really hope it's done. But the yoga and my own faith and support from all my family and friends is what has gotten me through. So now what do I do with this? I feel like I should be giving it back somehow. So I got the certification to teach yoga to cancer patients, and there are specific methodologies. She's adapted poses because if you've had breast cancer and you're undergoing breast surgery, all those muscles are cut. You're not going to lift your arm or extend your arm or put weight on your hands in like a down dog or even a tabletop position. Mm-hmm. So there's ways to modify all these poses and still keep it active. So you're getting like this moderate exercise that keeps that immune system healthy. Mm-hmm. So I got the certification. I come home. Part of the side effects are my bones and structure are breaking down. So I had back surgery last year. Now I'm scheduled for 2 hip replacements.
Yeah, it's amazing. You're one tough woman, I'll tell you that. So COVID slows all that down, but you'd like to get it all down. Yeah, but you'd like to get inside cancer wards and help people. And as soon as the dust settles on this damn virus, that's exactly what you want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. We want to help you do that. If people want to know more about what you're about or what you're doing, I guess they could. Do you have is there an email or would you rather them just do it through us and we can send it to you? We want people to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, you know what? Let's start with if they would send the information to you as part of my, okay, what are the next steps? I am going to build a website just for myself because I'm a graphic designer and I do those things. And I have connections in the yoga community and also through hospitals and great social workers. So I just need to start to work my plan. And this is the first step. So I can't thank you, enough. I can overanalyze things and I'm like, this path is unfolding in front of me. Now I have this opportunity. Step 1, tell your story and let's get going, girl.
Oh man, we're so great. We're so grateful that we were able to do that. I know that you Paul Altobelli, who was
Yep.
who is my colleague in this effort. I'm glad he turned me on to you. Anyone listening to Suzanne Miller's story who wants to stay in touch, know more information about the people she's mentioned, what she's going to do, you can contact the Behavioral Corner on our site. And when she gets her site up, we'll make sure you see that link right away. Suzanne, thank you so much. Continued success. And next time you're on, you have to do a couple things for us, and you will be back, I hope. You have to show us a little of the techniques that you are teaching others, and you, if you can, have your kids drop in. I want to say hi to them.
I would love to do that, and I would also love to maybe have a participant, a cancer, someone who's undergoing cancer treatment, also maybe come and be a testament. Like, yeah, this works, and
Any
she's
way
my partner. And
any way we can help you do that. Thanks so much again.
Yeah.
And as I said, you look great. Thanks for joining us, Suzanne.
Thanks, Steve. It was a pleasure and an honor.
That's it for now. And make us a habit, hanging out at the Behavioral Corner. And when we're not hanging, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on the Behavioral Corner.